You've been putting up with a dirty, dusty wood stove for years. Why haven't you changed it? Go to Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan. Look through their showroom for ideas on Quadra-Fire pellet and wood stoves and Heat and Glow gas fireplaces. They have several demos in place so you can see firsthand how your project will look. And you can trust the pros at Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They'll do the job right. Advanced Fireplace and Stove. 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Party leaders are losing their ability to effectively anoint favored candidates in a primary ahead of next year's midterm elections. We'll explain why. Also, the real estate frenzy is overwhelming even small-town America. We'll have examples of battles in eastern Pennsylvania. And could trauma be lurking under your post-pandemic good mood? Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
The following is a paid program of commercial time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims are solely those of the sponsor and not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees. It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Good morning and welcome to the Garden Guide. This is Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. And we are here to answer some gardening questions, hopefully get you all excited about getting outside and planting. And it looks like a beautiful day today, even though it's a little bit chilly. It's a beautiful day. We had a little bit of rain yesterday, and it's a perfect day to be outside working in the garden, working in the yard, and getting a few things done as well, too. So a lot of things happening right now. We've got some information from Utah State University that says it's time to start spraying your fruit trees next weekend. So not this weekend, but next weekend for codling moth. So apples and pears spray date for the first application is between the 28th of May and the 6th of June. And so next weekend would be a great time to go ahead and do that. And it is Memorial Day weekend. Next weekend, we've got some great sales and specials going on. Next week, there'll be a flyer that comes out in the mail that we will be excited about for next week, and a lot of great things going on at Anderson Seed and Garden. But it is time to start thinking about spraying your fruit trees. In fact, this week I was out spraying my stone fruits, so the peaches, apricots, plums, and cherries. I was spraying those for a little bit of disease control because right after the blossoms come off, and I've got like lots of fruit set. So the cherry trees are loaded. I've got a couple peaches that are just absolutely covered with fruit, and nectarines as well too. And I wanted to spray the nectarines for thrips, and also all the stone fruits for shot hole fungus and bacterial bud blight, and prevent that. So I was out doing a little bit of spraying this week myself, and trying to get those under control before things got out of hand and out of control. So great time to get out there and spray a little bit for disease, and also to start thinking about insects. And not only do we have codling moth coming up this week, but we also have aphids going crazy, and grasshoppers are starting to pop up like crazy as well, too. Had so many people in this week with little baby grasshoppers popping up all over the place. So some insects to be aware of. Great time to do some weed control as well, too. A lot of weeds popping up in the lawn still. It's cool enough that we can be very effective at controlling a lot of those weeds, dandelions, clover, morning glory, mallow, wild violets, all that fun stuff. And hopefully we've got no more frost. And it doesn't look like there's any frost in the forecast. And Cody's nodding his head over here. So that's great that looking at the 10-day forecast, doesn't look like we've got any frost, and so hopefully we can get out there and plant everything. So this weekend I was hoping to plant my beans and my corn, and then finish up with the cucumbers and squashes and melons and get those planted. I'm still doing those from seed, so it's definitely not too late to plant anything at this point. Here we're getting towards the end of May, but still not too late to plant anything. So if you'd like to call in and join us here on the Garden Guide, 753-5868, 753 KVNU or 1-800-369-5868. And our phone lines are open, and we'd love to have you join us here on the show. Cody, you're saying your allergies were like...
Yeah, my allergies have been awful lately. I go out every morning, get going to work, and my car is just caked in yellow pollen, and I'm just sitting there like, how in the world is this happening? It takes me all the rounds. Yeah. All 7 rounds, and it kicks my butt.
It is that time of year where there's lots of pollen out there. So if you're keeping bees, bees are just loaded when they're coming back to the hive. I've been watching my bees. In fact, I had to add some boxes this week to my hives. Started 3 new hives this year, and so we're excited about the progress that they're making already. But now's a great time to treat your hives for mites. So those predatory mites. We want to try and get those under control so they don't affect your bees as well. So it's a great time to think about that. But lots of pollen, lots of blossoms. I mean,
yep.
the valley was gorgeous.
It was so beautiful.
It was just covered.
Absolutely beautiful. Me and my wife, we started some planters a couple weeks ago, and we're going to do the full garden probably today.
Yeah.
And she is so excited. So excited. We're so excited to get gardening going. And we just get so much joy out of relaxation. I never thought, Mark, you started me on this. You really did. I started
hooked on it.
I gotta start this. And you know what? It's been absolutely fantastic to see those things come up.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I was out working in the garden the other night, planting some tomatoes, planting some peppers. Had a little bit of extra time and started weeding the carrots and the beets that came up. And it's just quiet and calm and relaxing. And I don't mind getting out there and crawling around on my hands and knees and pulling up a few weeds. And
you get lost a little bit in your own world, taking care of your babies. That's what my wife says. I'm taking care of my babies.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So if you'd like to join us on the show, phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, it is Memorial Day next weekend, and so start thinking about that. We've got some great sales going on next week for Memorial Day, but of course, we've been busy loading up the greenhouses this week. So greenhouses are full of vegetables, full of flowers, just got some gorgeous perennials in, lots and lots of shrubs, and the store's looking great right now. You pull into the back parking lot, and it's like overflowing with plants, and so this is a great time to come in and see us. We just got some honeyberries in. We got some more blueberries in. We've got some lilacs that we have not been able to get all spring, and so we got a bunch of lilacs, a lot of great shrubs just arrived from Oregon, so things are looking nice. And if you haven't been down to Anderson's on Wednesdays, make sure and come down because we've got the Wednesday market going on every Wednesday through the rest of the summer. So it starts at 8 in the morning, goes until 6 o'clock at night, and there's a whole bunch of vendors out on the sidewalk there on Center Street, and so it's a great time. Make sure and put that on your calendar to come down and see us at the Wednesday market. We've always got some fun things going on. If you would like to join us on the show, again, phone numbers are 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And we've got some phone lines open, and we do have a caller on the line. Cody.
Yes, we do. We got Kendall on the line for you, Mark.
All right. Good morning, Kendall. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going okay, I guess.
There you go.
I had a question about plum trees.
Okay.
I sent for a mulberry tree, and they sent me a American plum in substitute because they had a crop failure.
Okay.
So this gets blossoms. It's really heavy. It blossoms every year. It has plums on it. But about halfway through the season, they all just fall off. And I was wondering if there's something I can do to correct that or whatever.
How big do the plums get before they start falling off?
I don't know. I don't know what to say on that. About 3 inches.
Okay, so they get some pretty good size to them then. So it doesn't sound like it is a pollination issue. Do you know what kind of plum? Just an American hybrid plum?
It just says American plum.
Okay.
I really don't know.
There's a lot.
There's
a lot of different varieties of plums out there. Usually, when they are dropping fruit like that, it's a stress issue, and so it could be from soil type. Where do you live, Kendall?
In Richmond.
In Richmond. All right. Rocky section of Richmond or the clay section of Richmond?
Oh, it's really clay. If it dries out, it gets harder to rock. You
Yes.
can't even chip it with a shovel.
So you got the stuff that turns into bricks. So
yeah.
All right. That could be part of the problem. So as the roots go out into that heavier soil, the soil either stays really, really wet, so when that clay gets hydrated up, it just stays soggy and muddy for a long time. But when it dries out, like you said, it turns into a brick, and so it's hard to rehydrate it after that. I would suspect that your tree's probably stressing a little bit, either with too much water or not enough, depending on what the conditions are. And when that happens, when it gets really soggy and wet like that, it can be lacking some nutrient as well too. So probably the first thing I would do is let's try and condition that soil so that the water will penetrate and it will hold the moisture properly. There's some really great products that are inexpensive that you can put down as a liquid, and it will condition that soil so that it will accept the water better when it starts to dry out. And unfortunately, this year we're going to have a hot, dry summer. Is what it looks like so far, and water restrictions. And so whatever you can do to help the soil retain the moisture longer would be great. And so there's some really cool products. There's one that's called Groundbreaker that you can just attach to your hose, or you can mix it up in like a 5-gallon bucket. And it's an all natural, all organic product. And what it does is it helps the soil so that it will not clump up and bind so much, and so it won't turn into the bricks that it has in the past. And so you can treat the soil with that, and it will help water penetrate down deeper into the soil. And at the same time, I'd fertilize that tree. And there's some great liquid fertilizers. Tree Feast, which is made locally, would be excellent. It's got a whole bunch of micronutrients. I'd suspect your tree's probably lacking some micronutrients, and that's why the fruit's dropping off. And you can mix that right in with it, fertilize the tree at the same time, and really kind of kill two birds with one stone. And then what I'd do is I'd mulch around the tree. So use a thick bark mulch to try and help prevent the soil from drying out completely. And then plan on watering it, nice deep watering about once every 10 days to 2 weeks to try and keep that soil moisture up. So I think if we can kind of keep a more consistent soil moisture and try and correct some nutrient deficiencies, fingers crossed, hopefully we won't drop all the fruit this year.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Could I ask you one other question?
You bet. Fire away.
I have raspberries, and I heard a question a while back on some kind of nutrient that you put in the raspberries. I didn't quite catch what it was. Cazeron or something?
Oh, Cazeron. So, Cazeron is a weed preventer. And so the Cazeron won't hurt raspberries, and it won't hurt like roses or grapes or blackberries, anything that has bark on it. So it won't bother shrubs, won't bother trees, but it kills basically all the weeds that are growing up in there and grasses as well. So it'll kill grass, it'll kill morning glory, it'll kill dandelions, it'll kill clover, anything that doesn't have bark on it, it will take out. And you can apply the Cazeron in your raspberries either before they emerge in the spring, before the new shoots come up, or you've got to wait until after the new shoots that have come up in the spring start to go woody, when they start to turn, brown, so as the canes really form, and it won't bother your new raspberries that way. But it lasts 6 months. And so you can put it on, and it will last the entire summer, preventing and killing weeds that are in there. And it really saves a whole lot of time and effort and work, so you don't have to deal with weeds coming up all over in your raspberries. It really does a great job.
Oh, that's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Would that work on irises?
It will kill iris. Yeah, so it'll damage bulbs, so you can't use it on daffodils or iris or daylilies. You can't use it on perennial flowers or annual flowers or vegetables. It has to be on woody trees and shrubs, but it also works on canes. So roses, raspberries, blackberries, grapes, it won't bother those at all.
All right, great.
All right.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Hey, thanks for calling in this morning, Kendall.
Yeah.
All right, take it easy. All right, phone numbers, phone lines are open. Phone numbers are 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And like I said, it's not too late to plant anything. I've got a lot of things planted in my garden, but I still haven't got my cucumbers, melons, squashes, beans or corn planted, and this is like the perfect time to get those planted. Been kind of watching the weather to make sure we weren't going to get a frost around the full moon, which is, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. We've got full moon coming in, and so that's kind of the time of May I watch for to see if we're going to have frost, and it looks like we're okay. We had a cold front come in yesterday, and so I think our chances for frost were like today and tomorrow, and then we're back up into the 40s again for the next week or 10 days, so we should be in great shape. So that means beans, pole beans, squashes, cucumbers, corn, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, all those can be planted, and we can get going out in the garden, Cody.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay, we got a phone call.
Yes, we do. We got Vicky on the line. She had a quick question about trees for you, Mark.
Good morning, Vicky. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Thank you. Hey, I was wondering, I just came in late at the beginning of your show, and I heard something about spray for codling moth. Are we supposed to do that now?
Yep, next weekend. So I've got notification from Utah State that first hatch of codling moth on apples and pears is going to start around the 28th to the 30th of this month. And great time to spray would be from like the 28th to about the 6th through the 8th of June. And that's when the heaviest hatch is going to happen, is right around the 6th through the 10th. So perfect time, probably next weekend to start spraying.
Okay. Yeah. We just use dormant spray, right?
Dormant spray would suffocate the eggs, but you probably want to put something a little bit stronger in with it. So it has gotten hot enough, too, that I have seen some of our customers burn their trees with the dormant spray. So depending on which spray you're using, if you use a petroleum oil for the dormant spray, it can burn the leaves a little bit. So be very careful using oils. Some of the best options for spraying fruit trees right now for codling moth would be probably the new product, the new formulation of 7 is excellent. It lasts about 18 to 20 days, and so that's a really great option. Fertilome fruit tree spray is an all-natural organic spray, so you can spray it like right up to the day of harvest. Very, very safe to use, but also very effective. Lasts about 14 days, so that's a great option. You've got another natural insecticide, bacterial. It's called spinosad. The spinosad's great. I use it on my cherry trees because it works on the cherry fruit fly maggots really, really well, but also works on the codling moth larva. So that would be a good option. And then there's a lot of other great products out there. Bonite has a nice fruit tree spray, and a sale, if you can find it, is probably the longest lasting. It lasts about 21 to 24 days. So there's some really good options out there for you, whether it's traditional or organic, for controlling the codling moth on your trees.
Okay. I have one more question.
You bet.
So my cherry tree and my maple tree, they both are like orange at the top. What does that mean at the end?
Sometimes the new growth on the maples will come out, and it's kind of an orangey, burgundy color, depending on the variety. And so that's not all unusual. On the cherries, could be the same thing. Could be new growth that's coming out. It's a little bit different color from the rest of the leaves. Kind of keep an eye on it. We are seeing a lot of stress on the trees already because they had such a dry winter and a dry spring so far. So it would not hurt to deep water your trees. Not very frequently. I mean, just like once every 2 weeks or so. Good deep soaking, just to make sure there's some good soil moisture there for the trees right now. But has been kind of a dry spring and definitely was a dry winter, and so we want to supplement those trees just a little bit with some moisture, maybe a little bit of fertilizer as well too. Tree and shrub food would be great, just to keep some good growth coming on those as well too. So I'd kind of keep an eye on it, but I don't think I'd worry about it too much.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Hey, thanks for calling in, Vicki.
Have a good day.
You too. All right. Phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And who's our next caller, Cody?
I'm not 100% sure. We have a caller on line 2 for you. He cut out just in time for me to not hear the name, but we're excited to know his name here.
Good morning. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning. My name is Charles.
Hey, Charles.
And, I was going to ask you about, I planted some Canadian red choke cherry trees about 3 or 4 years ago, and they're just doing fine. However, I'd like to get the grass from around the trees themselves.
Yes.
So that I don't, and I'm really old, so, using a shovel or rototiller is not a good idea. Am I able to just use Roundup around there? I do have some suckers coming up from the bottom. Would the suckers, would that be the wrong product to use around there? I want to clear about 3 feet around, so I've got more of a drip, access to the drip of the
trees.
Yeah.
Great question, Charles. Great question. And so there are some products you can use that will not go through the bark and will not be absorbed up by the root system. And Roundup is one of those. So you've got Roundup, Kills All, which is the ultra formula of Roundup. So that's really good. And then there's a new product that's called Decimate. And the Decimate works similarly to Roundup, but it's a very different product. It's a completely different chemistry, and it breaks down faster. The key with all those products is you can spray it. It goes in through the green leafy part of the plant, and it will kill whatever you spray it on, but it won't stick around in the soil for very long. In the case of the Decimate, it's gone in 24 hours. With the Roundup Kills All, it's about 4 days before you could replant back in there. So it breaks down very, very quickly. But they could go in through the leaves of the suckers, and so you'd have to be a little bit careful with the suckers.
Okay.
You could either cut those down and then just kind of put a little bit of dirt over the top of the fresh cuts, so that the fresh cuts aren't exposed to the spray as well too, because it can enter in through the fresh cuts on the plants as well. So as long as you're not spraying it on the leaves of the trees, it won't bother them at all. And so I'd cut those suckers right down to the ground, and then maybe put 2 inches of soil over the top of them just to kind of cover them up. And then if that gets washed away later, it doesn't matter. We just want to protect them just while you're spraying, and then get in there and spray. And either the Decimate or the Kills All will just kill everything that's underneath there without damaging your tree in the slightest.
Oh, that's good to know. Now, when I cut the suckers, these Canadian red choke cherries, I have 7 trees. By the time I get to the 7th one, I have to go back to the first one and start
over again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've never seen it grow, so, so I will do that with the dirt. That's very helpful. I was really concerned about the little sucker leaves might pull up that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to,
thank you.
if you'd like to decrease the amount of suckers that you've got, there's a really nifty product out there there's 2 of them. One's called Sucker Punch, and the other is called Sucker Stopper. So they both have very clever names. I kind of like the Sucker Punch. I think that's a really cool name. But anyway, what you do is after you cut those suckers off, you treat the fresh cuts with this product, with the Sucker Punch or the Sucker Stopper, and it basically is a natural hormone that is in the material, and what it does is it communicates with the tree and says, hey, you've sent up plenty of suckers for this year, don't send up any more. And without damaging the parent tree, you can really cut down the aggressiveness of the suckers for at least a season, and sometimes even for 2 seasons, and you'll see a distinctive decrease in the amount of suckers that come up. It won't stop them 100%, but it'll really cut it back a lot. And so that's another option for you as well.
Do you carry that at the store?
I do. And the Sucker Punch comes in like a small trigger sprayer, but it also comes in a ready-to-use little bottle with a paintbrush on it, which is really effective too. If you don't have too many suckers, it probably goes farther for your money with the little paintbrush, because you just put a little daub on the fresh cuts, and you can do it fairly quickly if you don't have a million suckers, and uses less product. And it's about $20 for an 8-ounce bottle, and the trigger sprayers I think are like $35, so it can get a little bit pricey, but it can save a lot of time for cutting those suckers off later.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you so much. You really helped me. I was concerned, and you let me know I was right to be concerned.
Yep, for sure.
Thank
All right.
you.
Awesome. Thanks for calling this morning, Charles. Have a wonderful weekend. Yeah,
you too.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we've got maybe a couple minutes before we hit the bottom of the hour. We've got to take a break. If you want to join us on the Garden Guide, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. We got another call?
No, we are currently free right now,
okay.
which is great.
I was not sure if we had another caller on there. I mentioned earlier that I had been out spraying my trees this week, and I wasn't spraying for codling moth like we've been talking about on the show, but I was spraying for a couple diseases. So shot hole fungus or corinium blight, or also the bacterial bud blight, really common in all the stone fruits. So you've got apricots, peaches, plums, nectarines, and they get a disease that will make little spots show up on the leaves, and then as the spots kind of deteriorate, they fall out of the leaves, and it looks like somebody shot your tree with a shotgun. So there's lots of little holes all over on the leaves. Well, that disease will spread over to the fruit as well too, and then you get little brown spots all over your apricots or all over your peaches, and it can be very problematic. It causes cankers on the trees that will split open, and then you've got the sap will come out. So basically what's happening is you get those little cankers, and there's a little bacteria in there. As the cankers pop open, the tree tries to bleed the sap out to clean the wound of the bacteria. So it's kind of like when you get a cut on your finger, you'll bleed to try and, your body does that to try and prevent the bacteria from getting into your bloodstream. Well, it does the same thing with the trees. Do the same thing. So these globs of sap are pouring out of the trees to try and clean those wounds out. Well, by spraying with a good fungicide in the spring, right after the blossoms drop off, right at that kind of shuck split on those fruits, this is a great time to try and control that disease so it doesn't spread over. So you can use Daconil, you can use copper, any of the basic copper fungicides, copper soap, copper sulfate. You can use Complete Disease Control from Monterey, which is a beneficial bacteria. That's what I used. I used the Complete Disease Control, and it will control these diseases so they don't spread in the springtime. And it's very effective to spray right after the blossoms have fallen off. And then I like to spray again in a couple weeks if the weather stays cool and wet. And so you just got to kind of watch the weather. If we continue to have cool, wet weather periodically throughout the next 2 weeks, you will want to spray again, because that's when the disease spreads is with rain and cool weather, and higher humidity is what kind of helps make that move around. So great time to spray your stone fruits. Watch for aphids. My plum tree, the leaves were kind of curling up, so I did a combination insecticide with some spinosad soap and the Complete Disease Control, so I was able to control some insects as well as diseases at the same time. And both of those products are all natural, organic insect and disease controls. Very, very safe to use. Didn't have to worry about being out there spraying and hurting other things as well too. So we are at the bottom of the hour.
Yes, we are. Right. It's amazing how time flies, right?
It goes by so quickly. We've had some great phone calls, some great questions. If you'd like to join us here on the Garden Guide, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, and we'll be back after these short messages.
30 minutes after the hour, I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. Well, Detective Ken Hansen with the Unified Police Department told KUTV on Friday that a hiker in Little Cottonwood Canyon who had gone missing had been found dead. Search and rescue teams were on the mountain around 3 a.m. early Friday morning and discovered the body of Brent Rain. Police said the hiker appeared to have fallen a considerable distance. Police called him an experienced hiker. He had gone to climb Mount Superior in the Hell's Gate area of the canyon Thursday afternoon. According to police, the hiker had called his family around 7:50 p.m. to let them know where he was and that when he would be out. However, the family never heard from him after that. Around 1:20 a.m. Friday morning, the family called police to report him missing. In news out of Idaho, the Ada County Prosecutor's Office has received online criticism after promoting its services in honor of Crime Victims' Rights Week last month with a post on Twitter where the thin blue line flag was visible in the background. The tweet included a link to a blog post that highlighted victim witness coordinators who work to make victims feel empowered. The Idaho Statesman reported that the American Civil Liberties Union of Idaho and others questioned if the prosecutors also served police violence victims. The office said in a statement that it did not intend to take any position other than to highlight the work of those who support crime victims. Well, that weather forecast looking at clear skies as we start out the weekend, but a chance of showers coming for the second half of the weekend, as overall we'll see temperatures right around the high 60s to right around the low 60s, and this storm expected to clear out by the first of next week. Get more on these and other stories at CacheValleyDaily.com. I'm Will Feelwright for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd N. With the final NBA playoff spot up for grabs, the moment wasn't too big for Ja Morant and the Grizzlies in a matchup with MVP favorite Steph Curry and the Warriors.
Morant 12. Can seal it right here. Going in Toscano Anderson. Spins, hangs, floats.
Go to work,
12. Go to work, 12.
The call on ESPN 92.9 FM. The reigning Rookie of the Year powered the Grizz with 35 points, including 15 in the fourth quarter and overtime. Memphis stunned Golden State 117-112 to claim the 8th seed in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies will face the top seed Jazz in the first round. Stanley Cup playoffs, Matt Duchene provided the Predators with the much-needed spark and a big Game 3 victory.
Lobs it toward the line. Here's Duchene breaking in. He scores!
On WPRT-FM, the Preds topped the Hurricanes in double overtime 5-4. Nashville now trails Carolina 2-1 in the series. This is ABC.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Summer temps are here, the grass is seeding out, and the lawns have gotten stressed. With that being said, we'd like to introduce our new 2-service soil enrichment program to help increase the size and number of roots in your grass, which allows the plant to better use both the water and nutrients that are there, improving the health of the plant and helping the stress of this time of year.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the lawn doctor at 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCacheValley.com.
This is Jamie Andrus, President and CEO of your Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm frequently asked, what is a Chamber of Commerce? A chamber is your resource for all things business. As a nonprofit membership organization, we are your voice advocating for legislative issues and an active proponent for business growth and expansion. For more information on becoming a member, visit cachechamber.com or call 435-752-2161.
The Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
All right, looks like we are back here at the Garden Guide. Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. And my co-conspirator, Cody, is here running the board and answering the phones.
Yes, I am. Man on the front lines.
We're having fun. It's like when you talk about gardening and plants and trying to help people be successful, it doesn't get any more fun than that.
It's true. I had a really fun moment a couple of days ago. I was producing for The Fan, and we were getting some text lines in and stuff like that. And the text came in, it was like, you know what, Cody, I just love you on The Fan, but I love you taking my questions on the Garden Guide even more. And my co-host was like, you do the Garden Guide? I'm like, yeah, and it's amazing. He's like, wow, we really need to get you on payroll or something.
There we go. Yes, that would be good. That would be good. If you would like to join our conversation, we're having too much fun here at the radio station. 753-5868-753-KVNU and 1-800-369-5868. Phone lines are open. You are welcome to call in with questions or comments, and we'll do our best to try and answer and help you and take care of those issues that you're dealing with in your garden. So don't forget the Wednesday market has started up on Center Street. It's a lot of fun. There's more and more vendors each week. It goes from 8 until 6. So don't forget about the Wednesday market on Center Street. And it's not just plants and vegetables and it's all kinds of stuff. There's food, and there's a lot of different businesses there showing off their wares as well too. Memorial Day weekend is next week, so be aware of that. And as we have been talking on the show, it's a great time to start spraying your apples and pears for codling moth starting next weekend. But usually between this year, the university, Utah State, has recommended between the 28th of May and about the 6th of June to start your spray applications. Traditionally, it's around the first week of June, so we're maybe just a hair early this year, and so it's a good time to do that. And as we were talking in the break, Cody, it sounds like you're going to be out doing a little work in the garden yourself.
I am
this weekend.
I am. Me and my lovely wife are getting ready to plant some seeds, and we did a couple starters in the little. What are they?
The little pony packs.
The little pony packs.
Yeah,
See, I'm learning so much. It's fantastic.
Pony packs, yeah.
And we got them kind of going, and we had some questions. I know my wife and I are very new to gardening, and so we wanted to know maybe what was the best route to take in order to make sure we give our seeds the best possible chance of success.
Yeah. And so this week I planted some tomatoes and peppers from seedlings, and so I had some plants, transplanted those out into the garden. And what I usually do is as I transplant my plants, I will dig a little bit bigger hole. In fact, a considerably larger hole than the container that they're in to begin with. So if they're in like a 4-inch container, I'll make sure and dig my hole 6 or 8 inches wide, almost double the width. And then I put a little bit of nicer soil in the hole. And then as I'm planting, I'll backfill with that mixture of the nicer soil with the soil that I took out of the hole.
Right.
And then water them with Kanga Roots, because the Kanga Roots helps get them established a lot faster. It'll encourage root development. I get less transplant shock. The plants just kind of take off and go like crazy. And then I cover them with a hot cap just to help kind of get them reestablished in their new location before it gets I guess before they really get established, because it helps warm up the soil, helps get them acclimated to their new location, and then they're also protected from the cold if we get some cold as well too. So that helps a bunch. But when it comes to doing seeds, I do kind of the same thing. And so as I'm getting ready to plant, like say I'm doing cucumbers tonight, I was going to plant my cucumbers tonight, I will kind of clear the area where I'm going to do the cucumbers, rake it, and put a little bit of slow release fertilizer down in there, like tomato and vegetable food, and then I'll put my seeds down. And when I do cucumbers, I don't do them in hills. I do them in a row. And so I do like one seed every 3 to 4 inches. And then as I put those seeds down, I will cover them with a little bit of coconut coir. Coconut coir is the exterior of the coconut. So it's like not the hard shell, but it's the softer fibrous stuff that's on the exterior of the coconut. So they take that coconut coir and they kind of grind it up, and it's kind of fibrous and stringy a little bit. Coconut coir is amazing at holding moisture, and so it holds moisture even better than peat moss. And since it's a little more coarse and a little more fibrous, it sticks around a lot longer than the peat moss does as well too. So I put about 1/4 inch of the coconut coir over the top of the seeds, and then when I water the seeds, it keeps the seeds in place because it acts kind of like a filter, and it doesn't like wash away like potting soil does sometimes. It stays right there. So I will water those seeds with Bicor Seed Starter. We talked about that on the show a couple weeks ago. The Seed Starter is like my favorite stuff. It's amazing. And then I'll just kind of watch those, and about every 3 or 4 days I'll just water them, because the coconut coir will hold that moisture. So even if you have a hot sunny day, it doesn't dry out underneath the coconut coir. It holds that moisture down there, and the seeds will pop up in probably about a week. They come up like super fast.
Well, that's
that way.
exciting.
Yeah, so that's for cucumbers. But if I'm doing like individual squashes, like a zucchini, I'm going to plant zucchinis tonight as well too. I'll do the exact same thing, but I don't do them in a row. I'll do like 5 or 6 seeds in one location, and then I'll put a hot cap over the top of those to help generate some heat and to hold that moisture in there as well too. So those if I water them every 4 or 5 days, they're lucky, because it just really holds that moisture right there. I don't have to water very often. And sometimes, even after I water them the first time, they'll germinate before I have to water them again.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
that's exciting.
Cool. Yeah, pretty cool. Phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So A great time to get out there and plant, whether it's from seeds or whether it's from plants, and it's definitely not too late to plant anything. In fact, we're just reaching that point in the season where we are past frost. Got our fingers crossed that there's no more frost for this year, and we'll be doing some planting this weekend because it looks like the weather's going to be great. I could get a little cold and rainy tomorrow, though. I think that's like in our forecast for another cold, rainy day tomorrow, so we'll take it.
Yeah,
we need that.
Absolutely,
we need that moisture. We need that moisture. A lot of other insects that are starting to crop up right now are grasshoppers and aphids. Little baby grasshoppers are starting to inundate people all over the valley, and last year they really did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So we had grasshoppers all over the place, and so many people were coming in trying to get them under control. And so now, while they are small, is the best time to get them under control. So there's a very nifty biological insecticide out there that only kills grasshoppers. It doesn't kill anything else. It's safe for people, safe for pets, and it does not hurt any other insects except grasshoppers, and it's called Nolobate. And the Nolobate is quite effective at slowing the grasshoppers down, but keep in mind, Nolobate is not a quick fix. It's not one you put around your prized tomato plant and hope that they eat the bait instead of the tomato plant, because that's not going to work that way. Even if they did eat the bait, it would take a couple weeks for them to get sick enough before they didn't want to eat anymore. So Nolobate is more of a long-term, multi-generational type insecticide that affects grasshoppers, and you want to infect them in the areas where they're coming from, their breeding grounds, the vacant lot next door, the field out back. That's where the grasshoppers are going to be coming from, and that's where they lay their eggs, and that's where they're going to hatch out and just be thousands of them out there. That's where you want to get them infected with the Nolobate, not in your vegetable garden, not in your flower garden, because it will be too late by then. So the Nolobate takes a couple weeks to infect the grasshoppers, and before they get sick enough that they are lethargic and they just don't eat plants, it takes a while. And so it's not effective in your yard that way. You want to get out where the grasshoppers are coming from. And really, while we're getting rainstorms, like that storm we got yesterday, that would have ruined your Nolobate. The Nolobate is a dry bran flake, and so if it gets wet, it's pretty much worthless at that point. And so you've got to put it in like bait stations. We'll usually recommend you take a 2-liter bottle, cut the top off the 2-liter bottle so it's got a bigger opening, and then put the bait inside, lay it on its side so it doesn't get wet, because once that bait gets wet, it's pretty much toast. So the Nolobate, long-term, multi-generational biological insecticide, once they get infected with it, they can infect their little friends as well, too. As the grasshoppers die from the Nolobate, the spore that's in there, they will infect other grasshoppers as the grasshoppers cannibalize the dead grasshopper. So it can spread from generation to generation and from year to year once you get the population infected with it. And so it can be very effective. If you need something to knock them down quicker, then there's some really great options for in your yard. Bug Blaster from High Yield is probably my favorite. Really quick knockdown, very safe to use on all kinds of plants. You got to be careful on some vegetables, but that bifenthrin product is safe to use on some vegetables, but not all, and very effective on turf, on flowers, on shrubs, on trees, any ornamental plants. You can use it around the foundation of your house. Works on spiders and ants and earwigs and box elder bugs, and works great on grasshoppers. So that's an excellent one. 7 works really well too. There's some really great products out there that are safe to use, very effective, and long-lasting as well, too, to get the grasshoppers under control. So if they're showing up in your garden already, we want to go with 7. We want to go with permethrin and try and knock those down quickly, because a product like Nolobate will not work fast in your garden, but it will work very, very effectively out in the field where the grasshoppers are coming from. And you want to get those grasshoppers infected out where their breeding grounds are as well, too. So, Cody, we got another caller.
Yeah, well, actually, she relayed a message to me to ask to you.
There we go.
She has great faith in me, even though I do not know as much, I'm sure, as she does about gardening. She had 2 questions a little bit. She's planting geraniums here, and she wanted to know what she could do around the root ball in order to keep moisture to help out with the limited water that we have going on.
Oh, good.
That was
good.
her first question.
Okay.
And then her second question was, how can I keep the bugs from eating my flowers?
There you go. Two great questions. So on the geraniums and any type of flower or vegetable, when you're planting, we definitely want to try and keep moisture around that root ball, especially where we're going to have kind of a drier summer and probably some water restrictions as well too. So anything we can do to help those plants retain the moisture would be excellent. One of my very, very favorite products is called Nutrigel, and Nutrigel is made right here in Cache Valley. It's a polymer that will absorb and hold moisture like crazy, so it'll hold about 100 to 200 times its weight in water, and it just absorbs that moisture up, but then it has a fertilizer in with it as well too, and as it releases that moisture out to your plants, it releases the fertilizer at the same time. So when you're planting like your geraniums, for example, you could dig a bigger hole. Like if you're getting a 4-inch size pot geranium, dig your hole 6 to 8 inches wide. Dig it much larger, and then I take a little potting soil, especially something with like some coconut coir in it. That would be excellent, and work that into the soil that I took out of the holes. So a transplanting mix, compost like the soil building compost, anything like that to mix in with the soil to help it retain moisture would be great. And then as you're planting your geranium, put about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of the Nutrigel into that soil, and kind of work it into the soil down in the bottom of the hole where the roots are going to grow. And then every time you water it, that Nutrigel will absorb that moisture up and hold it there for the plants. And so between conditioning the soil where you're going to be planting and adding the Nutrigel in there, that will really, really help a lot. Then when I water the plants, I mix up either probably the Kinga Roots would be my first option. So I'll do the Kinga Roots, and I'll put a little bit of Easy Wet in with it too. And the Easy Wet is a wetting agent that will help the soil absorb and retain the moisture a lot longer than it normally would. So a lot of times soil and water repel each other, and so the water will find the path of least resistance into the soil, whether that's a crack or whether it just runs off and goes somewhere else. What the Easy Wet does is makes it so that the water is much more attractive to the soil, and it absorbs it down into the soil better, and then it holds it there. The Easy Wet lasts for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 weeks, and will make it so that when you do water, your water will be much more effective because it's going to pull it down into the soil and hold it there for the plants. So between those 3 options, that really, really will help your watering be much more effective, and you won't have to water nearly as much to keep your plants happy and healthy throughout the summertime. For bugs, geraniums regularly, and petunias also, get an insect that is called a tobacco budworm, and the tobacco budworms are very, very camouflaged. They're hard to see. They hide in the plants, and then they go and they eat the flower buds out before they even start to bloom. And so to prevent those, there's some great options. Spinosad, the natural bacteria, does a really great job controlling caterpillars and the larval stages of all kinds of insects. So either the Spinosad or the Spinosad soap, or there's some great flower, rose and flower insect control sprays, as well as granules you can use on those as well too. So sometimes we'll use a combination of a systemic insecticide like Merit, or you could use the Spinosad and the Spinosad soap, or you could even use a combination of the two to try and get those under control. But they get into petunias and they get into geraniums like crazy. And if you use either of those products, the Spinosad soap or the systemic, it'll control aphids as well too, because the aphids like the geraniums also. So very effective on a lot of different insects, but you gotta use it preventatively instead of waiting for them to show up. Try and be a little bit more proactive with those. So yeah, Cody.
We have a caller
question.
on you. Yeah, we have lots of questions for you, Mark. Everyone wants to know if you're going to be in today.
Yes,
perfect.
I'm going to be at the store today. So
perfect. And then we also have Catherine on the line here for you.
Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning. I have found in my seeds some bee feed flour mix, and it's kind of old, but I live in a farming community, and I'm kind of concerned about planting something that might get into the crops. Is that a problem?
Is it like a wildflower mix for like bees or anything?
Yes.
That's
Chinese forget-me-nots and Siberian wallflowers and California poppies and all sorts of
all those. So very attractive to the bees. And you say you've got like farmer fields nearby.
Yes.
And
across the street.
Yeah. Across the street, it's a possibility that any of those seeds could potentially blow over there. But most of those mixes are kind of cultivated so that there's nothing that would be like, say, toxic to animals in there. So you wouldn't have anything that would be like, very toxic for livestock or anything to come and graze on. I know the state comes through and checks a lot of our mixes to make sure that there's no varieties in there that could be problematic for the farmers. When it comes to wildflowers, of course they could spread and move anywhere, and so I think your concern is very valid. But I don't think you've got any varieties that are going to be really problematic for the crops that would be growing adjacent, to your property. It doesn't sound like they're right nearby, but they're relatively close. Probably not any more problematic than all the weeds that come in through the irrigation system. So.
Well, there's that thought.
I think that is very admirable that you are conscientious of your neighbors, though. I salute you for being aware of what could potentially be an issue for your neighbors. So.
Okie doke. Well, I'll just throw it out there and see what happens.
And those
is there a list someplace of things that you shouldn't plant in certain areas?
Say that again. Sorry.
Is there a list or someplace I could go to check to make sure?
Utah State University, their extension program through Cache County, has a list of aggressive plants, weedy plants that we would definitely want to avoid, and that would probably be your best resource for plants that could be problematic for crops nearby. So.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Hey, thanks for calling, Catherine, and good luck with your bee mix.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you. All right. Cody, who's up next?
Well, we got a couple questions, Mark. Yeah. And I feel very honored that people think that I can relay as good of a message as they can.
They are confident in your ability to
I take it as a high compliment. I had a wonderful experience to hear from both a fan of the Garden Guide and the Fan.
There you go.
Sports radio show. Todd wanted to know, how can he get rid of he found these old pesticides. They're quite a few years old in his garage, and he wanted to know what the best way to discard of those in the appropriate manner was.
There you go.
Yep, and he recently planted his tomatoes. This is his second question. He recently planted his tomatoes, but forgot to do the complete disease control on them. I want to know how he can maybe make retribution with his tomato plants here.
Still apply. Okay, Two great questions. Okay, great question on the pesticide disposal. So the Logan City landfill throughout the season will do a pesticide roundup, I guess is the best way to call it. And I'm not sure what the dates are on the next one, but they will actually take and dispose of old pesticides if you don't know how old they are, if they have been, lost some efficacy, or if there's problems with them. And they'll dispose of them safely. So you can just take those bottles down to the landfill when they do those events, and they'll take those pesticides and dispose of them properly. The other way is to basically use them, apply them. If you mix them up according to directions and apply them to your property, if there's not a whole lot left in there, that's a great way to utilize those products, is to dilute them and apply them, and that's the other option as well too. Don't pour them down the drain or anything like that. We want to make sure and utilize those products properly. As for the complete disease control, just mix it up in a watering can and water your tomatoes, or water your peppers, or whatever it is, potatoes. I mix up the complete disease control, and then I water my potatoes with it to fight off diseases, water my tomatoes with it to help control verticillium and fusarium that gets into the soil, and it does an amazing job. So really a great way to do that is to just mix it up in water and water the plants with it and get it all over the leaves as well too, and it will help fight off diseases off the leaves, but also as well as in the root system as well too. I've got to treat my tomatoes and peppers this weekend as well, too. So thanks for the reminder about treating those with complete disease control. So I think that's all of our callers, Cody, isn't it?
That's correct. Right. We had a plethora of people at the very end.
That is great. And lots of great questions as well, too. So don't forget that Memorial Day is coming up next weekend, and we'll be having some great specials at Anderson Seed and Garden. The Wednesday market is coming up every week on Wednesday on Center Street. And make sure and get that on your calendar. Make sure and come down and see what's happening on Wednesdays at the market. A lot of great food options to come down there and get something for lunch, or even for a late breakfast as well, too. But it does start at 8 o'clock and goes until 6, so a lot of fun there. Good time to get out and spray fruit trees. Time to get out there and do some planting. Lots of weeds popping up, so we have a lot of things happening out in the garden. And so we'll be back again next week with another edition of the Garden Guide to help you answer your questions and find solutions to your garden. Have a great weekend.
The preceding was a paid program of Commercial Time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims, information and news you need. News Talk KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.